I've been asked to share some of my experience of what can make you a better leader, how to improve your leadership skills. Do not worry, perfection is out of the scope of this item of this course, but we can improve ourselves if we focus on some specific traits, some specific characteristics that will make us a better leader and allow our company to be more successful. So what I will be sharing is starting from the best. Who are the kind of leaders that you most admire? Do not put any limits. Think throughout his history. Who are these amazing leaders? Say, oh, that's the kind of person that I really admire. What we're going to do is examine some of their traits, what makes them so great, such great leaders, how that might apply to yourself. And at the very end, I'll let you in with a little secret, a little trait, a little something special that will allow you to be an even more successful leader for your impact-driven enterprise. So let's see what kind of leadership can actually prepare you and allow you to prepare yourself, your company, your mission, your impact to actually deal with the complexity of this world and this collaborative era. That's the question we have for you. But let's go back to the original question I asked you at the beginning. Who are the leaders you admire most? Interesting enough, in my talks, in my classes, I often ask this question, and even amongst some of the most tough business people, there's rarely any business leader that comes up. People say the person they admire most of all times is usually either Gandhi or Mother Teresa of Calcutta or Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela. Fascinating. No business leaders. The leaders that you admire most have very different traits. And maybe as an exercise, you may wish to think, what are the traits that make these leaders that you have identified? Maybe there's some of these, maybe there are others. What traits do they have that you admire most? Homework that maybe you can look into. But let's now go back to this era, collaborative era, in which you're asked to be leading. Now, collaborative may not sound the first thing that comes to mind right now, but especially in your area of social entrepreneurship, that's fundamental. Let's move you as an example to a place which is not quite the ideal of a social enterprise, Apple. Who does Apple collaborate with? What kind of collaborators does it use? How does it switch on collaboration to make it one of the most successful companies in the world? One of them is, surprisingly enough, the producers of their apps. They may not have a fantastic relationship with them, so I'm not judging it. I'm just saying they're able to collaborate with app developers in a way that creates all the value that is on those phones, on those iPads, and so forth. Powerful collaborators that make them successful. Second, us, the consumers. We're constantly being fed all these beta versions of OS X and OSI, and we just try it and give feedback and actually help these companies, Apple and concretely, to become better. And they're very expensive, but for free, with pleasure, we give them feedback to make the beta version the best possible version when they actually come out. And the third element, think of the biggest competitor that Apple has. Samsung may probably come to mind. Surprisingly enough, Samsung is the biggest provider of all the screens of the iPads and the iPhones for many years. So imagine that. Your biggest competitor is your biggest collaborator. Mind-blowing. Now think about your own company, your own attitude. Do you have a collaborative mindset? Do you think in this collaborative way? That's the difference between success and failure. So this collaborative mindset is a transition. The old model of leadership is about me. I decide, I tell you what to do, I give you guidance, let me explain. And obviously in a social enterprise, you're very passionate about the company you created, so it's very easy to fall in that area. But the new leadership that's required is a diffused leadership. It allows autonomy, it lets go of control, which sounds very easy, but it's actually very, very difficult to actually do, especially when you're passionate about what you do. Practical example, 7 people and myself, we created the Impact Hub Madrid back in 2010. Things go well, open space for social innovation, they grow, it grows. We have an operational team. At the beginning, as you know, we all sweep the floor, we do everything that isn't required as any good founding member. But then the operational team steps in, and guess what? They sometimes make mistakes. They sometimes take the wrong decisions, contrary to what we thought was a right way forward. So what do you do here? Do you explain, do you tell them, do you share, or do you let them? Do you allow them to go into R? So what is interesting there, what we did very imperfectly was, okay, there were big macro mistakes, this cannot happen, this is the culture they have, this has to be maintained. But in general, step away. Allow this team to make mistakes. And they really felt it, and they realized they made some mistakes in some of the decisions they made, but the fact that nobody was actually judging them or pushing them one way or the other gave them the confidence, the trust, the autonomy, the fact that this was their Impact Hub Madrid. It was not the owners, they were not working for someone. So this sense of ownership and autonomy has actually created a very strong bond with their work and created some really unexpected, powerful participatory solutions that came from the team itself. More reasons why it's important to have this allowing leadership is because things change very fast, and you as a one person of a founder, you do not have all the answers. You don't want to be in the middle of every decision. You want to allow the team to feel autonomous and to take decisions, not have to wait for you 2 or 3 days before you have time to answer them. So this level of trust and autonomy needs to be created, and this is an essential element of what can allow things to go forward, because the company has to be very fast, it has to adapt fast, it has to pivot, it has to resist things, it has to change, innovate. So it's just so complex, and it reminds me of these flock of birds. I'm sure if you saw them, they fly all over the place in beautiful harmony all together, thousands of birds going around. How on earth do they manage that? Don't we wish our teams were like that? So what allows this flock of birds to fly so beautifully? What is the secret there? And maybe I would say a couple of points that allow this kind of unity in the chaos, in the diversity, in the rapid speed that's working. One is purpose. As a social enterprise, you will definitely have a lot of purpose. Shared purpose, that's much more difficult because people come at it from different angles with different passions. Creating that moment of shared purpose where you really share and understand together what you're here for is fundamental. Trust. I trust you will do that if you say you do it. I trust you will not do that if you say you won't do it. I have this trust that I know I can confine you and that you will have responsibility and take your responsibility. And coherence between values and purpose. So in all this change, in all this mess, in all this uncertainty, you need to give this coherence. You need to have this certainty, because otherwise these people will go crazy. They will take a lot of decisions all over the place, but they will not be good decisions. It will not be unified, strong, powerful going forward. An example, personal example, the best way forward. And in this very brief rundown around leadership, the ideal leadership for this collaborative area, for these impact companies, I would like to share with you also the fact that the importance of focus. So everything is changing and moving around us. We're just tempted and pulled all over the place. So you have to do this and that and the other. But the ability for you and for your team to find focus, create focus, courses, whatever, is fundamental. Deep focus. But it's not a stagnant focus that always stays in one place. It's just like a wind vane, you know. You see them on top of the churches, they don't just go flipping around like crazy. They don't change every 5 seconds. They follow the wind, the trends constantly and deeply and focus in that direction until the trend changes, and then you focus on something else. So that's a fundamental example of how you can, in yourself and people around you, focus deeply, but also be able to then focus on the next most important thing. What is most important, do you think, for your company to have a success? Is it your strategy, or is it the people that will make it happen? And in fact, the people would even design an even better strategy than yours. So that's why, if you say you have no time, do make the time for people, for human connection with your team. If you're not good at it, get training on it. It's fundamental that you have a really strong connection, because things are going to get tense, they're going to get lively, they're going to get very passionate. Unless there's a real fundamental connection with your people, things will not work the way they should do, or as well as they should do. So take your time to understand these human beings, have these check-in moments to see how are people feeling. And I promised you a little extra surprise and key asset. And this key asset is women. Make sure you have as many women as possible in your team, at least a balance of half and half. My experience, Impact Hub Madrid, 8 founders, 4 men and 4 women. The conversations amongst the men were, okay, let's get on, let's make it happen, let's action. The female element in the team always said, hold on a second, have we thought about this? And what if that happens? And then the men, oh, come on, let's get on with it. No, hold on, let's think more deeply. And the reason why we were so successful is exactly that balance of the two mindsets, and having women with their intuition, their ability to adapt, their ability to dialogue deeply with empathy. That's a fundamental element of your company that I hope you can harness. And to end this short introduction to leadership, top down. What are people expecting from the leaders coming down? Not actions, not to-do lists. They're expecting dreams. They're expecting visions. They're expecting something that really charges their mind, that makes them dream and go forward. Martin Luther King famously didn't say, I have a plan. No, he said, I have a dream. That's a very bad impersonation, by the way. But the concept is create the dream, let people dream, and it's amazing what that dream will actually allow to happen. So if I was to recommend something, is to enjoy this last quote I'm leaving you with from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and he talks about boats, about building boats, and how the best way to build a boat is not to tell people how to put the pieces together, it is to share with them the journeys that this boat will take. So I hope this boat, your social enterprise, will sail with your amazing collaborative leadership. I wish you all the best. Thank you.